Hey there guys, Mike here again. In this video I'm going to show you how to make your own fridge slide. I'm going to show you how to fabricate your own slide at a fraction of cost what it is to buy new. If you have a vehicle with a lift and your fridge is strapped into the back of the vehicle, it makes it quite awkward to look inside and grab stuff. So if you had a slide, you can just pull it right out and grab your stuff and slide it back in again. No problem. So I made a quick trip to my local metal store and I picked up some hot rolled steel. Yeah, I could have gone with some cold rolled steel, but hot rolled is a little bit cheaper, and once you paint it, you'll never really know. So I got some angle iron and I got some flat bar. All this metal cost me less than $40, and with my recycled bearings and some hot fasteners, I'm going to save myself a couple $100 with only putting a couple hours worth of work in. So for the bottom part that actually gets fastened to the vehicle, we're going to use this 2-inch angle iron. So it's 2-inch by 2-inch, 1/8 of an inch thick. And that will be fastened to the deck of the vehicle, and then this will be the slide system where the fridge will go on. The main system will be all fastened together and the fridge will sit on that, and then it could slide out like that on a set of bearings. And for the bearings here, we're going to be using some recycled rollerblade bearings. So I had some wheels that were totally worn out, but the bearings still run just fine. It'll be perfect for this application. And you could probably go to any thrift store and pick up some old rollerblades or even a skateboard and reuse the bearings. It'll be perfectly fine. Inside diameter here is 5/16, so you just need to find a 5/16 bolt and you can mount everything to it. So we'll mount one bearing to the rail here. So this rail here is going to have the fridge sit on it, and this will be the bed rail. So that will mount on there like that, and it will roll, slide back and forth like that. And then in the front part of the bed rail, we're going to mount a bearing on the bottom, one on the bottom, so this will rest and slide back and forth on it, and then we'll mount 2 on top here like that, and that will prevent it from tipping up. So something like this. So this will roll all the way like that, and when it reaches to the end it won't tip up because this back bearing is holding that back, and then I'll put a little stop in there so it can't go any further. So now I have the general concept all completed here. I know what I want to do. For the first step would be to measure up the fridge and make the main bed rail where the fridge is going to slide back up on. So we'll measure that all up. We'll put some tabs on the front and back so we can cinch the fridge down. We'll mount the bearing. The second step will be to do the bed rails. So we'll cut that to length. Once the main slide is done, we'll mount all the bearings on here and make sure it's all aligned. And then the third step would be some type of locking mechanism. I envision having it in the front where you pull on it and then you can pull it out and it will engage itself automatically, and when you're finished with it you pull on again and push it back in and it will engage itself automatically. So basically 3 steps. So let's go ahead and measure the fridge. So this is my A or B fridge freezer. It's a 47 liter. It actually has a real compressor in it. It runs on 120 volt AC plus 12 volt and 24 volt DC, which makes it quite suitable for any type of situation. So when it's not in my vehicle, I actually have it plugged in my house. I typically do not leave this unplugged at all. It's always plugged in. So the base of this fridge is about 25 inches long. And with the handles and everything like that, we're probably looking at about 27. So I think 27 inches long is a pretty good. And the width here at the base is about 14 inches. And if we go right with the width, so how about we make it 16 inches wide by 27 inches long. I got the main fridge slide all cut up and ready to be welded. So here's the plan. Here's one of the rails where the bearing goes in, and this will be the back. Another piece of angle iron, and we'll weld it together there, and that will give you some rigidity this way. And as for the front, I got this 2-inch flat bar here, and we're going to weld it to the rail, and this will actually give me a place to put like a handle so I can pull on that, and when it recesses all the way in, it will act like a stop so it can't go any further. So it serves dual purpose. So let's go ahead and weld this all up. Now I'm expecting this to warp a little bit when I weld it. It will pull to one side. So once I get this tacked up, we can do the diagonals and we can square that all up, and then we can tack that into place as well. So now this is all tacked up. We're going to see if it's all trued up. So when we do that, we do the diagonals. So I have just under 32.5 there. And then we'll measure it this way. And we're at 32.5. So we're about a 1/16 of an inch shorter this way. So all we have to do is put some pressure on this way, and it should probably go into true, and then we can finish tacking it up. Okay. This is all tacked up now, ready for the feet location. So I'm just going to flip this upside down here, and we're going to mark the center location of the feet. And so we'll make some cross braces that go on here, and the feet will fit perfectly on there. So all the cross pieces are welded in now for the fridge to sit on. I ended up using 2 runs of the 2-inch flat bar to marry it up to give me some extra strength and position for the feet. So here are the bottom rails I'm working on. I got the first bearing all lined up, so we'll put that bearing in first, and then we'll put the actual slide on top of it, and then we will measure and drill the holes for the top bearings. Everything just loose fitting. So now it's time to put on the top bearing. I'm going to align it right with the front of this. We'll mark it, and what we'll do is we will center punch it, and then we'll drill a hole, and that makes sure that that's pushing tight against the rail. To make it track better, I ended up putting another bearing in here. So there's a bearing here mounted to the bottom plate and another bearing here to make it track properly. Of course, the tip bearing, that's important. And then in the bottom section here, I have the bearing that it rides on this, and then I have another tracking bearing that goes on here. And to prevent it from tipping up when it's in here, I made these little brackets here. So when it's locked in place, it won't bounce around. So it's time for a little test here. I got the ARB fridge mounted on the drawer system here. It's all welded up, all ready to go. I got the drawer clamped down to the bench here so it won't tip up. So the fridge is empty, but I'm able to push down on it, so I don't expect to have more than 40 or 50 pounds worth of groceries in here. So that's pretty good. So the next step would be mounting some holes for the strapping system to mount that down, and of course a little latching mechanism. I figure I'll do a little twist and it will unlock in the back. And when it moves forward, it will just auto engage into the holes again. So most of the fabrication is completed here. I just have a little bit of finishing welding to do. The last step of the process was the little locking mechanism. I managed to figure that out, and I'll show you how it works. So that's the front of it there, and what we're going to end up doing is bending that to build a little handle. So we got a long 3/8 cold rolled steel rod that goes up to the back here, and then it does a little pivot and it locks on the side. This is a piece of aluminum. I did thread a little bolt on the end there, so it's metal on metal, and it goes into a little hole. You see there's a hole there, and I got a spring. As soon as it hits that spring, it locks into place. And I have some stops here. So with this stops here, it prevents it from going too far. So here's a locking hole there. And that piece of aluminum has an Allen head set screws. And that's aluminum rod with the return spring. It's just held together with some cotter pins. And it goes out to the pivoting section there. You can see the little stops, the travel stops, and so when we turn it, it's all held together with some set screws. And there's the corresponding hole for the locking mechanism when it's in the out position. So all you have to do is turn it, and then that locks into place like that. Well, the paint's all cured and ready for some final assembly here. I went out and bought some stainless steel hardware to mount all the bearings, and I also went with posi nuts or nylon insert nuts to prevent anything from backing off. I took my propane torch and I put a 90-degree bend on the handle here, so this is what we're going to use to disengage and engage the locking mechanism. The entire build, I do believe that this little mechanism was probably the hardest to figure out. This was a little bit of a head scratcher. I had to figure out the limit switch and how much throw I needed to engage and disengage the locking mechanism. So let's go ahead and do the final assembly and try it out. Well, I got the slide all done. It turned out pretty good. It cost me about $60 worth of parts and materials to build. I've seen these run anywhere between $300 and $600 depending on the brand name and the quality. I have the fridge tied down with some ratchet straps here. They also make a special ratchet strap kit that you can purchase online, but I find these straps work just as fine and they're quite a bit cheaper. So you just unlock it, slides out, and locks into place again. Now you can get access to the fridge from the outside of the vehicle without having to climb in or unstrap it from the inside of the vehicle. And it locks into place. So I envision what I'm going to do is put a sheet of plywood down and paint it, and I'll fasten that to the vehicle, and then I'll bolt this to that plywood, which leads me to my next project, which will be another drawer system that will fit on the other side here. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.